I'm sorry, folks, but apparently, according to the human resources manager responsible for hiring and firing at Stellenbosch municipality in the Western Cape of South Africa, a city run entirely by itself by the Democratic Alliance since the year 2011. So that would be, 15 years that DA has been running Stellenbosch. Of course, it's also known as a murder capital of South Africa, although it's not the largest number of murders, but some of the most violent and shocking murders take place in Stellenbosch. But I digress. The human resources manager responsible for hiring and firing people says that in March of 2023, this has been exposed 24 hours ago, says that white people are the problem.
But I'm still saying that appointing a white person to correct that, because I'm going to be honest with you, the white person is part of the problem. I'm opening it up. The white person is part of the problem. That is what we had. Because they are able to engage with the staff.
Yes, indeed. White people are the problem. The ones who pay taxes, the ones who make the economy work, where it does work, the ones who are productive are the problem. And why are they the problem? Well, because they sit in their offices and they don't, I guess apparently don't get out and toy and dance with everybody. And, and apparently white people just aren't down with the jive, according to Mr. Kahnemeyer, the human resource manager, who doesn't mind being called a racist because he knows what he's saying and doing is racist. He said so in the video. He doesn't care if people call him a racist. Well, then I hope you don't go try to file a criminal injury charge against all the people that are about to call you a racist, Mr. Kahnemeyer, since you said you don't mind being called a racist. So white people are the problem, eh? That's the issue. That's the biggest problem facing Stellenbosch. Not security, not economic growth, not informal settlements springing up and straining services. No, none of that's the problem. Not the deterioration of a jewel of South Africa turned into a dump by informal settlements. No, it's not. That's not the problem. No, the problem is white people. And you know what? He has a solution. We have to make things so difficult for the white people that work for the municipality that they'll want to resign so we can get rid of them. We know it's illegal. We know we can't do that, but we're going to do that anyway so we can get rid of those white people, those evil white people who actually get the job done and are productive, so we can hire black people. And I don't want to hear that they're unqualified because it doesn't matter. They're black. That's what matters. This is the Transformers. We're all about transforming South Africa into a failed state. That's the goal here. White people are the problem. Didn't you know that, folks? I mean, if you were curious about why South Africa is failing, perhaps you missed the most important aspect of it. The problem is white people. If only the white people weren't there, if they just get rid of the whites in South Africa, it would be the land of milk and honey. Remember how wonderful it was before Europeans arrived in the Cape in permanent settlement in 1652 when Jan van Riebeeck set up a station at the Cape of Good Hope. Before then, the history of South Africa is amazing. It was a land of metropolises and mega cities and highways and roads and infrastructures and modern ports, container ports and steel foundries and rugby. Oh, I'm sorry. None of that existed. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm mistaken and confused about what happened in the history of South Africa because, none other than an authority himself, Julius Malema, has told me that, for instance, the game of rugby was invented in the Eastern Cape by black Africans. Now, I guess the town of Rugby in England must have stolen the name and applied it to this game that was magically invented in the Eastern Cape by black Africans before it even existed. So, of course. And if only it wasn't for these evil white people in South Africa, the country would be so wonderful. Of course, these evil white people are the spawn of the ANC. What do I mean by that? Well, the majority of white people in South Africa were born after the National Party surrendered and gave control to the cabal that runs the country now. So most white South Africans were born exclusively during ANC governance. Yet they're blamed for South Africa's problems. Yet despite that, although many black South Africans are very productive, very hardworking, very honest, many colored, many Indians, white South Africans, despite all of the racism directed against them and the laws and legislation preventing them from jobs in the government, from tenders with the government, from university bursaries, despite all of that, they still tend to be the most productive, most efficient, hardest working, and most successful South Africans, despite 140 plus racist laws trying to hold them down. In spite of all that, the white people of South Africa, the Dutch, Huguenot, German, Portuguese, Jewish, French immigrants who melded into communities there, despite all of that, they're still the highest and best performing ethnic community or racial community in South Africa. Imagine if South Africa didn't apply 100 plus racist laws to hamper white South Africans, the drive, the enthusiasm, the entrepreneurialism that would create tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and potentially millions of jobs in a flourishing economy, where real tenders were handed out to competent companies, whether they're black, white, or brown led, because they would be competing and not have a dirty, under-the-table hand at cater patronage, being handed contracts for non-existent services, like LCS Technologies, I think that's the name of the company, the fictitious company that is being delisted, that has no board of directors, yet the government pension accounting agency gave them 531 million rand contract, R500 million, to deliver biometric services that are non-existent. No board of directors, being delisted, and they're already paid 41 million rand. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Over 2 billion rand in fraud has been identified by News 24 in just a few weeks of reporting. Imagine how much more there is. This is what's been brought to you when you get rid of white people. Because, white people are evil. They're responsible for all the evils that affected South Africa. Without these white people, gosh, I guess maybe we would have had heart transplants would have happened 200 or 300 years before the white people came, because obviously white people in apartheid held down the population of South Africa, held them back, kept them from building these metropolises, these steel foundries, these aluminum smelters, these huge dams, these waterworks coming out of the Drakensberg Mountains, delivering water to Joburg. This is all the evil white people responsible for this. Make no mistake, South Africa's white minority, Afrikaner-led, did impose apartheid, the notion of separate development, upon South Africa after 1948. And beginning in 1913 with the Native Lands Act, racially keeping people from owning land legitimately, things were skewed very much in the favor of white South Africans and against those of other skin pigmentations. And that was morally reprehensible and wrong. But that ended in 1992. With the last of the major pieces of racist legislation repealed by the National Party. And then they surrendered and gave power over to a corrupt political system where people don't even vote for people that are in office. You don't even vote for them. You don't even vote for them. You vote for a party list. And the corrupt political party selects who your representatives are. And they fire them. For instance, the Democratic Alliance fired Ronaldo Gous for what? He committed no offense. He committed no crime. He violated no ethical standards of parliament, yet the cowardly Democratic Alliance fired him, despite their own internal investigation saying that he should remain, in a 4-3 vote saying he should go nowhere. Just, tell him he can't go on social media for a while. But because they're cowards and not genuine leaders, they wouldn't stand up to the fake social media backlash against a 15-year-old video that was done in hyperbole. These are the cowards that lead South Africa. And then the criminals who lead it in other political parties. But white people are the problem, folks. We heard it from Mr. Kannemeyer in the Stellenbosch municipality. White people are the problem. Well, I guess when all the white people are gone, South Africa will just be the best place in the world to go to. Not likely to happen. What say you, South Africa? Cheers.